Peace, Israel, and Yah bless. Thy righteousness is an everlasting righteousness, and thy law is the truth. I will title this short segment A Trap and a Snare. Once again, this short segment is entitled A Trap and a Snare. Once again, brace yourselves, tighten up your jaws, do not turn to the left or to the right, or you will get hit in the mouth. We are to walk the straight and narrow way of the Most High's commandments. We are not to deviate to the right hand or to the left hand. We are to walk the straight and narrow way. Now, 'tis the season for robbing and stealing, meaning this is what they call the Christmas season. And every time around this year, you have to safeguard your personal belongings. If you are shopping and you have something in your car that someone may deem to be of value, they will bust into your car to take it. Many people are covetous in their ways, and they're trying to actually give presents, celebrating this madness that you cannot find out of the mouth of any prophet. Uh, by way of the Most High's feast days and his holy days. Remember, the house of Israel, we were instructed to keep holy, Holy days. We were never instructed to keep anything called a holiday. And of the Most High's holy days, listed in Leviticus chapter 23, you cannot find anything called Easter. You cannot find anything called Christmas. It does not exist. And we are to remember that the Most High changes not, and that we are not to add or to subtract from his word. So therefore, when we look at Leviticus chapter 23 and we don't see Christmas or Easter in there, then we know someone has added to the Most High's word, and therefore it is void. Now, 'tis the season for robbing and stealing, and in this time of year, there's always going to be at some point where the trap and the snare is set for us. As you can see, the children of Israel are beginning to wake up. They're beginning to sit up. Some of us are already standing up, but that great exceeding army is beginning to come awake. Now, as we start to come awake, what you're going to see is the nations will do everything to delay and to stall our awakening. They will send men before us that will try to drag us back into the ways of the heathen as we begin to start to separate ourselves from them and turn to Torah. So we are to be very aware of the traps and the snares that will lay at our feet. For when we stand up out of the dust, when we stand up from being dead men, walking around dead, walking around in the darkness, working around separated from the Most High's law, statutes, judgments, and precepts, not being in the light of his righteousness, we are dead, and we are maneuvering within the congregation of the dead. As we begin to stand up, and when we do stand up, as we rise, they fall. And the nations are very much aware of this. So every time around this time of year, there's going to be some traps and some snares set. All of a sudden, you're going to read some story about, oh, they found the shroud of JC. Oh, we found the cave that JC might have lived in, or something crazy. Oh, we found a cross that they may have nailed him to, or something like that. They have to keep this thing going. And you will see this being multiplied and pushed more so as we turn to the Most High's law, statutes, judgments, and precepts. They will send men who look just like us that will cause us, or actually try to entice us, to return back onto wickedness, to return back onto serving wood and stone and idols that profit us for nothing. And we are to be aware of these traps and these snares, and the men that looks like us that have been sent by our enemies to draw us back into the darkness. Now, we're seeing where the house of Israel, many people now are beginning to understand that they are the house of Israel who have not understood it before. Some may have heard it, but never took the time to look into it. However, with young man Kyrie Irving and him putting out that tweet about the movie slash documentary Hebrews to Negroes, it actually made it plain that, okay, now the house of Israel, these people are indeed waking up. But the alarm has not been sounded as of yet, because The documentary will cover some things that's very important, have you kind of put some dots together. But at the end of the day, it still magnifies the idol of JC. So we must understand that the God that was the God of the house of Israel and still is, he was one, always has been one, has never been killed ever. The God I serve has never died, and he's never made himself into two or anything like that. Our people need to be aware of this. Those who seek the Most High in truth and righteousness, they will find him. But there are many people of the house of Israel scattered to the four corners of the earth, have never heard of Hebrews Negroes. And so therefore now they're facing a dilemma. They're going to go look at this movie, or they're going to go rent it or stream it, or whatever the case may be, to see it. They will learn a lot of things. They will be able to bear witness to the words of the Most High. But then the trap and the snare in all of this is it comes right back to JC. However, those who are seeking the Most High in truth and in righteousness, they will find out that this JC figure is indeed false. And so we're seeing, as our men who stand up and say, well, they're Israel, or they are Israelites, or they are the people of the book, we're being attacked by other peoples. We're being accused of being anti-Semitism and being anti-Semite. And it's amazing that a man can call you an anti-Semite or an anti-Shemite. He isn't. When you look at the people of Sephardim, the Sephardim were brought into the land when we were kicked out. And you can read this clearly in 2 Kings chapter 17. Sephardim was part of these peoples. Once we were kicked out of the land, when Tiglath-Pileser, when Pul took us out of the land was empty. Okay, and so therefore we needed other people in the land. So Israel, or Samaria actually, same thing, the north, were taken out of the land. And the Assyrian king brought other peoples into the land, the people that they brought into the land. One of those many peoples that were brought into the land were the Sephardim. Now, when we look at those who call themselves the Ashkenazi, those people will be coming out of Europe, predominantly Germany. And we know clearly that Ashkenaz is a son of Japheth. So if you're Ashkenazi, certainly you're not a Shemite. You are Japhetic peoples. And if you're Sephardim, you're clearly not Shemitic. So calling a man anti-Semitic when you're not Semitic yourself is kind of funny. But our people need to go into the book and read these things. That way they can see exactly where these people are coming from. Many of the people that are claiming to be quote-unquote Jews are nothing but people who may have been brought into the land when we were kicked out of the land. And our priest had to teach them the way of the God of that land, of the land of Israel. So there are many people who are not Israelites that are familiar with some of our customs, that have lived in the land because they were brought there and may have migrated back to where they were from originally. So you will have people who are not Israel that has some of the Israelite customs because these people were brought into the land. This is something that we must be very much aware of. So as our young men and our athletes begin to stand up, and our people across the earth are beginning to sit up, and ultimately we all will stand up, and it will be pretty much Ezekiel chapter 37 before your very face. We will bear witness to this as the children of Israel, as we stand up an exceedingly great army in the places in which we have been scattered, in the places in which we have been oppressed. So before we actually get back into the land, we're at the bottom of the barrel in these nations now. We will be given a great name and we will be given great praises in the lands where we have been held captive. So before we even go back to Jerusalem to establish the Most High's way in Jerusalem and to build that third temple, before we actually leave the many lands of our captivity, we will be recognized as the people of the book. We will be recognized as the children of Jacob. We will be recognized as the people of God. We will be recognized as the chosen people. We will go from being at the very bottom to being at the very top and leading all of these nations as it has been prophesied. So we will see clearly the Most High is going to reverse our captivity before our very faces as we continue to turn to the Most High's laws, statutes, judgments, and precepts. Remember, we are the bearers of light. What is light? Light is that law. As we come forth with that light shining before us, it will blind everyone else. They will not be able to lift a hand against us. They will no longer be able to take advantage of us. We will be no longer a spoil and a prey to these nations. Now, the truth is going to be the weapon used. What is the truth? The Most High's law. The truth is righteousness. And the nations know not righteousness. So once we stand before them in righteousness, once we stand, they fall. So it is within their best interest to ensure that when we start moving towards righteousness, that they put a trap and a snare before us that would cause us to return back onto the ways that we have been, that has gotten us into trouble, i.e. serving their idols. Now, it's amazing with these lies. You know, we have to bury these lies. We have to make it plain that we will not accept these lies. I had a gentleman that came up to me and he said, "Are you ready for the holidays?" I said, "I'm ready for some time off." So he looked at me really puzzled, and then he asked me, "You don't celebrate the holidays?" I said, "The God I serve instructed me to keep his holy, HOLY days, and he has no such thing as a holiday." I said, "In fact, if you can show me a holy day called Christmas or Easter anywhere out of the mouth of a prophet, I'd be interested in seeing it." And literally, you could see his whole jaw hits the floor uh, because they are quite taken aback when you actually speak to them directly and you tell them some things that they know in their heart is true, but yet they want to continue in the lie and will teach their children that lie year after year. So at some point, we must take responsibility for these lies that we have been told and that we continue to tell our children and our grandchildren, and that we continue to live these lies. At some point, there must be a repairer of the breach. The covenant has been broken, and at some point in our generation, we are to stand up and be repairers of that breach. We are to take those lies and we are to expose them, and we are to walk in Torah. Simple as that. As it pertains to us awakening and coming to this great awakening, once again, like I said, we are to be prepared for what is going to happen as the nations are brought low and we are raised up. The nations will come against us with all their fury, but the Most High will deliver us in our time of trouble, and we are to hold steadfast to that. As young Kyrie has gotten in trouble for putting forth this information, we have to understand clearly that anytime we do anything, we will be attacked. Now, once we are being attacked, there's no one that's coming to our defense. Our people are unable to come to our defense. Our defense, our shield, our weapon, our protection is the Most High. And if we have him before us, we can go before any enemy of ours, and we will always prevail. But once we decide to go before our enemies, and we are unprepared, unprotected, and we are not walking within the confines of the Most High's law, statutes, judgments, and precepts, rest assured that we will lose. We will be defeated. We will be beaten back as in the days of old. So we can go before our enemies, for there are those who are claiming to be us, for there are those who are claiming to be God's people. And we can go to the scrolls out of the mouth of the Most High and his own prophets, and we can show you clearly, and we can bear witness to the words and the actions of certain types of people, and we can make it plain to them and everyone else that's breathing that they are not the people of this book. And this news, this word, is a vexation unto them. It's going to upset them. No one that's lying and stealing has ever been happy about being exposed for being a liar or a thief. And so therefore what we're going to do is, as the men who are ordained to teach this book, as the people who heard the Most High's voice, as we stand up and teach the Most High's law, statutes, judgments, and precepts, people are going to be upset. It's a vexation for them to understand this report. They're going to be mad. So don't expect them to be pleased for the fact that we're going to out them to be liars, to be phonies, to be false, to be unrighteous people, to be enemies unto us, and they're enemies unto the Most High as well. We're going to prove that these people are, that these nations are. And it's going to be a vexation for them to understand this report. But we can all go into the text and read it. And when we read it, we will bear witness to what we're reading and what we're seeing now and what we have seen in times past. So, as young Kyrie is going through his time of trouble, and he is discovering who he is, and he's doing all this reading, etc., he's going to come to the understanding that JC can't come to his aid. We look at the IUIC individuals. It's a very big organization. Israelites United in the Roman idol. No Israelite in the days of old has ever been united with anyone called Christ. Ever. Ever. These men are confused. And those who serve all these idols and graven images, they will all go into confusion together. No one has ever died for us, period. The Son of the Most High is the children of Israel. We're it. We are his sons. We are the ones ordained to bring forth his light. We are to bring forth his righteousness to the nations. We are to bring forth his light to the nations. And as we, the men of Israel, stand up and teach these laws, statutes, judgments, and precepts to all the people of the earth, then they will hear this word and they will be able to say, you know, you people are the people of the book. You are the people of the Most High. Because no one understands this book like you do. No one can make this book come alive like you do. No one can explain this book like you do. And no one walks in this book like you do. And so we are going to be appraised throughout the earth because the nations themselves have been led astray. And they won't know what truth is until the truth tellers stand up and teach it. And that is the men of the Most High who have been ordained to teach this word and to teach it to the nations, to bring forth his righteousness, that is Torah. So as we teach the nations, then the nations get an opportunity to reflect on what they have been taught and what they have been told and what they have been doing. And they get a chance to make a decision on which way they will walk. And so people of the nations will grab a hold of the man of Israel and say, I am with you, for the Most High is with you. And this is how the people of the nations will deliver themselves. How is that? The nations will grab a hold of a son, meaning a man of Israel. A man of Israel, or the children of Israel as a whole, are the sons and daughters of the living God. So the only way that they're going to get to the Most High is when they cleave unto us. Simple as that. The only way the nations are going to be able to come back onto the land, that we may be able to allot them a piece of that land when we return back onto that landmass, they're going to have to first of all turn with their whole heart and their whole soul to Torah. How are they going to even know Torah? We're going to teach it to them. And so therefore they can't get to the way of the Father, which is the Most High, unless they cleave onto his son, which is Israel, the people. And so therefore we have a great job to do. So it is good to see this awakening. Young brothers such as Kyrie, as he continues to study and discover who he is and turn back to the Most High's law, statutes, judgments, and precepts, he will be protected. He doesn't need to lean on IUIC or any other group of anyone. All he has to do is walk in Torah, obey the Most High's law, statutes, judgments, and precepts, and therein lies his protection, and therein lies his power, because the Most High is his power, and the Most High is our power. And all we have to do is lean on him. We are not to lean on our enemies. Now, when we look at this IUIC group, these are a bunch of Israelites men out there marching. Sure, some people may see this as what great solidarity that the men of God are actually standing together to back him up. I get that. I get that part. I get that part. But let's get down to the nitty gritty. Most High said that he was one. They're saying that he's three. Most High told us not to put our children through the fire unto any deity. Period. Now, all the things that they speak of pertaining to this Roman idol, it is all false. No one that we know of has ever leaned upon this idol and been delivered. No one. Now, IUIC, they're using the same tactics of the civil rights generation, marching and chanting and singing cadences. I'm certain they're being led by military men because I recognize the military chant and the military formation when they're singing cadences. Powerless. It will do nothing. Nothing at all. Because an idol cannot come to your defense. Let me say that one more time for effect. An idol cannot come to your defense. Period. I don't care how many of these men are marching in fringes, etc. These men are serving an idol. An idol that cannot save, an idol that cannot deliver us, an idol that we were instructed never to serve. And so as big as that organization is, it's going nowhere. And their voice pertaining to this subject matter will do nothing. For these men have violated the very first commandment. Thou shalt put nothing before me. That including JC and anyone else. So when Kyrie put forth this link, it did something very interesting. It caused a whole lot of the people from the house of Israel to actually go look at that documentary. It has caused many of our people to go into that book and read. And they have discovered for themselves that a lot of what they have been taught, what they have been told, and what they believe is not in that book. And so now the quest for righteousness and the quest for truth, they are in full pursuit of it. And when you seek after truth, you will find the Most High, for he encompasses righteousness and truth. And so once again, anything that they put before us that they're making public, it normally is a double-edged sword. They may put this Hebrews to Negroes before us. Yes, they've got it before us. But the trap in there is the JC trap. And those who are reading the book for themselves, they will certainly see it. So for those who find themselves in trouble, I will say once again, you're to face Jerusalem, lift your hands in prayer, and you're to admit your faults. You're to ask the Most High for help. Do not turn to your enemies for help. They are your enemies for a reason. No one can save you, and no one can come to your aid. You save yourself. You save yourself by doing that which is right in the sight of the Most High, and in so doing, the Most High will extend his tender mercies towards you and towards your house, and he will deliver you in your time of trouble. It is every man for himself. No group of men is going to get together and save you. You're going to save yourself. I would also like to discuss some of the things pertaining to, there's a group called NFC or NFAC, some kind of nonsense like this with some profanities in it. Our men, armed to the teeth, making a bunch of noise. Now, their leader has been given 7 years. Now, with all the guns that they've got and the numbers that they've got, their leader has been locked up for 7 years. No one stormed the building that he was in. No one did anything in retaliation for his incarceration. Once again, when you get together with a bunch of men, and these men don't walk in Torah, don't know who they are, don't know who the Most High is, and most of them could care less of who he is, when you decide to follow after these groups or follow after these men, or you decide to lead men like this, when the shots rang out or rings out, and when the sentences are handed out, all of these men will scatter because Their spirit is not strengthened, by which they may stand before their enemies. They will scatter. They're in the land of their enemies. Once again, this is proof positive of the Most High's words as it was handed to us by the prophets. We will have no might by which we can stand before our enemies. Our hearts will be feeble, and our men are exactly that. They're compromising and they're feeble men. They are light and treacherous persons. That's exactly what they are. They can be easily compromised, whether it be for money, position, power, and even something as simple as sex. These are a bunch of undisciplined men, and the Most High will continue to crush them before our faces. That way there'll be a clear separation between those who are serving the Most High and those who are serving Him not. Next, look out for these men whose videos have all types of scrolls running below it with links to their PayPal, links to what other PayPal, and what else do we have here? MoneyGram or whatever. They have links to where they're just begging for money. These men are professional beggars. They're trying to fleece the people. We have to understand that we have been a prey and a spoil in the midst of our nation, in the midst of the many nations. And so once we understand that, okay, we are a weak people, we are a feeble people, we have been reduced into the dust. Once you understand that about a people, you can take advantage of them. And so many of these men understand exactly who we are. We are a people searching for help, searching for the Most High. We are a people searching for hope. And the reason why we're searching for hope is because we are in a position of hopelessness and have been in such a position for quite some time. And we are being fleeced by men of our own that looks like us. And they're trying to enrich themselves by taking advantage of the people that have been taken advantage of. Can you imagine that? So be aware of these men who are coming before you begging for money. These are professional beggars. They may try to cloak themselves, but these are beggars. These men don't have any workers repairing the temple of the Most High. There is no temple of the Most High standing anywhere on this earth. There's no need for them to ask you for any money, and there's no need for you to give them any money. So be aware of these beggars who are taking advantage of the people and fleecing them for their funds by appealing to their purse strings and appealing to their emotional responses. We are to deal straight with these individuals. And it's hard for them to ask you for money if they're going to teach out of this Torah. When they start teaching other nonsense, then they can start trying to beg you for money. So no, this is not a tithe. We're just asking for a donation. It doesn't cost me anything to fire up this machine that's in front of me, turn on this camera, and read the words of the law in your ears, and to encourage you to stay therein. That doesn't cost me any money. You don't need to send me any money for anything. And so therefore, you are to watch these men. They are light and treacherous persons, and many of them serve their enemies and serve the idol of their enemies. So as we turn with our whole heart and our whole soul, and we stand up in the midst of these nations as this great and exceeding army full of righteousness and the zeal of the Most High, there will be a clear separation between those who are serving the Most High and those who are serving Him not. And if you're speaking of anything other than the Most High and the Most High alone, then you're not serving Him. You're serving the idols of the nations. And you will see the men and the organizations that are doing this destroyed. Peace, Israel, and Yah bless. Thy righteousness is an everlasting righteousness, and thy law is truth. And peace to the stranger that will take a hold of the Most High's laws, statutes, judgments, and precepts, and do them. Now, it's been a while since I've done any videos, but I did sit down with the brothers at Israelites Assemblies, and we had a great chat. And I did put up a post. That way, those of you may go there and hear that. So I consider that a lesson of sorts. It has been probably about 4 or 5 weeks since I've actually done a video. But all is well. All is well with me in my house, and I trust that the Most High has preserved and safeguarded you and your house as well. Peace and Yah bless. Thy righteousness is an everlasting righteousness, and thy law is the truth. Peace, Israel.